All right, today we're going to be doing an unboxing. I bought a Maker Made M2. Going to do an unboxing today, see what's in there, and then we'll go about getting the materials we need to do the frame and build the frame. Let's open up the box. A little letter from them. Maker Made sticker. Cardboard, I guess we could lay all the parts on. The Z-axis assembly looks pretty nice. All the bags look like they're nice and labeled. Elbow for the dust collector and some kind of rubber. That's going to be for the Z assembly. Those are going to be for the Z assembly. That's also going to be for the Z assembly. Cabling. The spring for the tension. I believe these are also for the Z assembly. These are the new wall mounts the M2 comes with. The chain. Bought a little starter pack for the bits. That's part of the assembly as well. More cables, the brain box, probably a power supply, a little lanyard, acrylic paint marking pen, not sure what that's going to be for. These are for the Z-axis. These are also for the Z-axis. Power supply cable. And the sled. Which that's kind of cool. All the videos I've seen did not come with these attached. Those were attached to that. So I guess they're attaching them now directly to the board with the screws loose. So that's a little bit different there. And that's the sled. It looks pretty nicely made. And you can see the cutout for the vacuum. So let me get the instructions out. Alright, now we got everything opened up. This is the only piece of paper that came inside the box, which is just thanking you for purchasing one, and it gives you the website to go for the assembly guide. So I got the assembly guide here open up on the computer. You go through it. It shows you everything that comes with it, everything you would need to buy for the wood frame, all that kind of stuff that you're going to need. And we'll just scroll down to assembling your M2. Let's see where we're going to start. And we're going to be starting with the sled. Alright, so there it tells you to attach L brackets, and it shows you everything, which bag the screws are in and all that good stuff. So let's start building it. Attach 3 L brackets. All the holes are pre-drilled into the sled, so it is kind of nice. You really don't have to do any kind of math or measuring. Put a screw and go. Alright, so ran into problems early. Maker made did not include enough of these tiny screws to attach the third L bracket. I'm missing 6 screws, I only got 12. So I'm not going to be able to install this last one and this one because I'm going to have to take this to Home Depot also and buy a bag of 6. And honestly, I don't think I can do anything else because everything attaches to these, the next steps. I can maybe start assembling this ring. Yeah, I can start assembling this, the bearings, and the bearing holders. Alright, so the bearing bag is going to be bag F, which is here. And by the way, the bag for these L brackets was bag G. Let me put these back in here so nothing gets misplaced. Let me count and make sure that I have enough to do everything. Yeah, so it looks like the mix-up that they did, I was supposed to have 18 wood screws and 6 of these little Allens and 6 wing nuts. And it looks like they ended up giving me 16 little Allen screws and only 12. I don't know, I got something mixed up here. Because I'm only supposed to have 6 of these and I got a whole bunch of them. I got a whole bunch of wing nuts. Alright, those are back in there so they don't get lost. Let's try to assemble these. Alright, so these need to go on here. And it's going to take one of these, a washer on each side of the little bearing. Probably going to be a little bit complicated to get everything lined up. Oh, the bolt goes the other way around. The bolt only goes in one way, by the way. There we go. You're gonna want a paper towel because the wheel bearings have some grease on them, so you don't want to put grease on everything. Alright, that's that. I'll have to tighten those up. I'm gonna need to get. It comes with a bag of Allens. That's nice. Make sure this is the right size. Yep. Let me go get a 10mm and a 13, which is going to be the other 2 tubes we need. And this up here. And you want to tighten it tight where the bearing still goes freely. Even though these bolts, they have that shoulder on them, that no matter how tight you tighten it, this will stay at minimum size. So just make sure everything rotates freely. All right, let's see what else we can do. I'll start building the Z-axis. I try to get as much stuff done just in case other bolts are missing. You don't want to run to the store, buy 6 bolts, come back and find out something else missing. So try to get as much done as you can and go to the store one time when you need as much things as you need. All right, so this is the top. The Z-axis, you're going to use bag H. Going to install this away from the motor. Okay. You're just going to want to snug these down. You're not going to want to tighten anything too much. You're going to have to adjust it later to set the belt tension. Next step is attaching the Z motor. I'm assuming it's going to be the one that says Z. Yep, the Z motor access. Kind of nice. They got like laser etched on the motor there. And the motor shaft is offset. You're going to put the offset farthest away on the bracket. And you're going to use these little black Allens. It looks like the powder coating is a little bit too thick on this bracket, and these screws are kind of fighting me going in. It doesn't want to go in straight. There we go. All right, I got some of the way in. Match it up on the bottom. That's in. Let's see if another one wants to start any easier or not. Nope. Yeah, it doesn't look like the screws are wanting to fall into the holes. They went just a little bit too tight, so it kind of threads into the paint. Seems like as you go going around, it's kind of giving you a false tight before because the threads were into the paint. Once you work your way around, the motor starts sucking up. And just go around one more time, making sure everything's tight. All right, there we go. So the next step will be to attach the gear, the large gear to the motor. All right, so it wants you to make sure that one of these set screws is going to be on this flat part of the shaft. And the other part would just be on a round part. Let's see which Allen key we need. Let me face this directly to me, that way I know where exactly I got to put this set screw. Right, this one set screw down. Probably would have been better to put both Allens outside where I didn't have to just do this quarter turn at a time. Okay, so now we're going to put the smaller one on there. This one I'm going to put both set screws facing out so I don't have to fight it. Alright, I'm also supposed to put the belt on, suck this all the way in. Now it wants us to ensure the belt is level. So we're going to have to come down on this gear because it's pretty far up right now. And that looks pretty good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to tighten up these screws up here so I can hold it level, and then I'll tighten the 2 set screws here. Okay, that's it for the Z-axis motor. Now it wants us to attach this to this. Let me go see if in the garage by any chance I have any of these little screws that we could use. As long as it's not tight on this board, it should work, so I'll be right back. And then it shows you here how to do it, but you're pretty much gonna like put your thumb or your pointer finger behind the motor and push with your thumb out to give it some tension, and then you're gonna tighten those top ones. And now my belt's nice and level. I'm gonna do these 2 set screws. All right, so we're back from Home Depot. Another thing I'd recommend, if you're missing a little tiny screw, put it in something bigger. Because you put this in your pocket, and I've done it a bunch of times where it disappears by the time you get to Home Depot. These are what I bought to replace it. It's a hair longer, but they should work. So let's see if we can finish putting this together. And the biggest nice thing about the M2 is the fact that all the holes are pre-drilled. You don't have to measure anything, make your own sled. This thing looks nice. I really do like, it's a little bit more money, but saves you time and you get a more professional looking product in the end. All right, so now we could attach the ring. The wing nuts go out. There you can see how many extra ones of those bolts I have, so I'll get with Maker Made and let them know. I don't know if this is just my problem or maybe they have a whole batch of that are bad. Alright, so let's move through. Alright, so it wants us to put out of bag C, which are the bolts to hold the bricks. Which, to be honest, I think I want to install this first. I'll get those installed after. These instructions do not make a lot of sense. Alright, so here, there's a screw here and a screw here. They got a little bit of a gap, and that's actually going to slide into the track that are on the bottom. One of these moved. Let's see if they'll go. So far this assembly has been a little bit different. All the other ones I've seen, this whole Z-axis comes together. But there we go. We got it in. Okay. Alright, so now we're going to need bag Z. Move this over to the side. And then bag Z, there's 2 of these long Allens, and they're going to go in the side. Here there's a hole drilled, and here there's a hole drilled. So you just got to match them up and get the extension to have the threads, and there it is. And then use the included Allen key. Okay, next we're going to attach these little supports in the back and in the front. And here you can see the little T-nuts. So when you put it in there, it'll spin and it'll lock in there and it'll tighten down. Just want the nut on there at the end. That way you got plenty of space for it to fall in and lock when you turn it. You gotta make sure that when you do it, that back T-nut spins and goes into the groove it needs to go into. There we go. You can look down the extrusions and you'll see if that T-nut spun sideways like it should. This one's just barely spun. Loosen it back. If you don't get it the first time, just loosen them back up. Try it again. Tight. And front ones will get a little bit more complicated because they're kind of inside. I've seen other people, they attach these rail feet to the whole Z-axis assembly first, and I think it's a much better way than doing this. Because now to tighten this, or leave this off till you're done, because now you got this in the way trying to tighten in there, and it's not very friendly. Alright, got that done. Next thing, we're going to attach the rotor clamp to the Z-axis housing using the bolts that are screwed into the clamp. Okay. So we're going to take these 4 bolts off, and that's what's going to be attaching it to the Z-axis. Alright, the clamp is on. Alright, centering your router and the final steps. I'm going to go get my Makita router, but then they said I had to make an adapter to make it work. So let me see how it fits in there. Alright, so the day I originally shot the video, I couldn't find where I'd put my Makita router. So I was just going to go to Home Depot and purchase the DeWalt 611, which is the one that actually fits perfect in this bracket. But there is none available at the moment. So I ended up printing out, you see the little spacer there. It has like a little sleeve on top so it doesn't slide all the way through. You can find it on thingiverse.com. And to center it, I printed one of these. It fits perfectly in the hole in the sled, and a 1/4 inch bit fits right in the center. Put that in there, put the bit through, and it got me perfect center. Right now I have a V bit, so it's not going to fit in there to show you guys. But that's pretty much it. Now we'll go over the materials we used to build the frame. Alright, so we're here in the garage. This is the wall that I'm going to be building the M2 on. It's going to be in front of the window. This is all the lumber you're going to need. You're going to need 3 2x4x8s, 1 2x4x10, and the instructions say 1x6x10, but they didn't have any. And 3/4 on top of a 1 inch is going to have very little overhang, so I bought a 2x6x10 for the bottom. And I also bought 3/4 inch MDF. It does have like some tire track black marks, but it's completely flat, and I'll just put that on the back side. So let me set the phone up and we'll go over the directions of how to install everything.
Start by cutting two 2x4x8s in half. Mark 12 inches up on each one and lay your 2x6x8 on that line. Space them 2 feet 8 inches apart and screw them down. Next, lay your 4x8 sheet down and center it, and install screws on one leg every 10 inches going up. I like countersinking all the holes before starting to install the screws. It comes with screws, but you will need more as there isn't enough in the kit. I just missed the stud, so I just loosen the screws to push the stud over and then tighten them back down. Now we install the last 2x4x8 at the top and screw it down to each leg. My top 2x4 had a slight bow, so I had my wife help me to push it into place and screw it down. Now measure from the top to see where your 2x4 is, and you're going to be placing screws through your wasteboard into that 2x4 to hold the wasteboard down to that as well. Next, place your wall mounts between the wall and your frame. Center your frame and get the right angle on your frame. Kick out or push in the bottom of the frame till it is laying on the wall mounts correctly. Now install your 2x4x10 that holds your motors. I installed my motors prior to putting the board up to make it easier. Mark 9 inches up from your lower wall mounts. That is where the bottom of your upper wall mount will go. Level it out and install the other side. Now square your wasteboard to your motors. Next, we can start putting our chain on the motors. Install a nail 6 inches from the outside and 1 inch up on each side through the last end link of the chain. Get about 30 inches of chain and then place the chain on the motor sprocket. Install small sprockets in chain slack. Then install a tension spring between the two small sprockets. Be very careful as there's a lot of tension. I recommend to clamp the chain onto the sprockets to avoid any chain slipping. Now start running your wires to your motors and install the brain box. I installed the box on the top middle of the top board. Install the power cable and USB also. Next, get a razor blade and cut off all the raised edges around the screws so the workpiece can lay flat onto your wasteboard. Now we can start our calibration. Connect your USB to your computer. I had a lot of issues with this part. Also, don't waste your time installing the sled as you have to take it off for your calibration. Mike from their tech department helped me out the following day and updated the software. Ever since he did all the updates, everything has worked fine. And the calibration went pretty smooth. Then you just follow all the steps inside of the calibration steps and put in all the measurements. You also have to weigh your sled. This is why you take your sled off. You have to come up on the chains and you have to have a cotter key in the middle between each chain, and you got to make the chains the same length on each side. So once the chain is tight, that cotter key should be dead center between the motors. And this teaches the software what dead center is. I had some problems getting the chains to get in the center because of the soft limits. Mike also helped me resetting the soft limits so I was able to continue with the calibration. At this point, my phone ran out of memory, and this is the next day finally cutting after I finally got it calibrated. Here's the first piece I actually made with the M2 after doing some experimental cuts. Came out pretty good. Still experimenting with cut desks and stuff like that. I also got the ESO Pro now, so I could put that I have a V-tip router bit instead of just an end mill. Because as you can see in the letters, there's very little detail because I thought it had an 1/8 inch end mill. So cut a little bit too deep in some places, but it looks pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with it. One thing I did learn, I cut this all the way there on the lower left hand corner. And you can see this cut, there was a couple issues with it not being straight. It's straighter now because I cut it with a handsaw yesterday. And you can see the detail right here in the wheel. It loses that like texture detail that the tire has because the chain's just slack and it can't move it back and forth. So this chain's just slack and it's all on the right chain. So I'm going to try to cut more in the middle. I'll also show you what I did with the bricks. I glued a thin brick to the thick brick to give it a little bit more weight to try to keep the butt of it down as it goes up, because it has a tendency to lift on the way up. So like and subscribe, guys, and I'll see what else I can make.